Hey YouTube, what's happening? It is Nadu coming back at you again from Skinny Maggie. What's going on? So we are at 65 days out to the presidential election and things are still boiling. So I have an interesting question for you. My question is, do you belong in politics? I'm asking you that question because just 2 days ago someone asked me if I thought about running for city council where I live in Jersey City. I had not thought of that. My immediate response was, what do I know? I know nothing. I'm just a regular person. But maybe that's what should be happening. Regular people like you, like me, should be involving themselves in government, should be voting, should be making their voices heard. The conversation was excellent. I won't get into it now, but we talked a lot about what's going on in the city. Jersey City is yet another city to be just gripped by gentrification, and that means so many things. Again, I won't get into it now, but it really got me going. But on the larger scale, November 8th is another opportunity for me and you and all of us to engage in politics. You know, are we going to do it? Are we going to get in there? And are we going to go and make our voices heard? Because guess what, friends and neighbors, regardless of who gets elected, our lives are going to change. Our lives are going to change. But I think people are going to feel some pain in the short term. I'm concerned for people who are struggling on the bare minimum just to hold it together, right? Their lives are going to be impacted regardless of who gets into office. It's a reality. It is a harsh reality. So some of the questions on the front line, did a little bit of reading. I wish I could have done more in the last few days. It's been a little hectic. But some of the things I'm seeing are interesting about a term I hadn't heard before called a front lash, which makes perfect sense. Whereas, wherein a candidate decides to smack up their opponent and paint them and portray them as incompetent. The last time this was done and when this term was coined was in '64, when LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, was up against Barry Goldwater, who shared a few characteristics with Trump. He was a little bit shoot from the hip. He had some pretty extreme ideas. Okay, don't know a lot about Barry Goldwater before my time. Yes, indeed. But there are some things that are interesting in the little bit of reading I've been able to do regarding how a front lash, which Hillary is definitely doing. She is definitely painting him as unfit, as somebody who shouldn't have the nuclear codes, as somebody that we should be concerned about if there needed to be a major foreign policy decision. I tend to agree with her, and I'm sure many other people do as well. At the same time, though, the article that I read, that I thought was very nicely done, talked about how the front lash did serve LBJ well. He wound up getting into office. Barry Goldwater did not. However, okay, again, this was a Democrat-Republican situation. While LBJ did get into office and he was successful at painting Goldwater as too extreme and not quite fit, maybe temperamentally, what have you, there were still and he did win over some moderate Republicans, as Hillary seems to be doing. There were still some people who were not completely comfortable with the full breadth of ideas that LBJ had. In that immediate election, there were definitely some seats taken in Congress by the Democrats, but then just after that, in subsequent elections, the Republicans came back strong. I can see that happening yet again, right? We've seen the wave, Democrat, Republican, and there is a strong group of people, as I talked about in my last post, who are angry about the liberalism, about the multicultural spin of the multicultural shift that we're going to see, that we have been seeing as our schools change, as our cities change. If the border between Mexico and United States does not solidify as Trump wants it, that will mean even more multiculturalism, right? So there are people who are very angry about that, and I think that anger will boil up into subsequent votes. I can see that happening, right? So, you know, these are really interesting times. What if Hillary does make it? You know, if Trump, I think more specifically I should say, if Trump does not make it, what will become of the persons who are passionately supporting him now? They have a voice. They are concerned. They are angry. They are worried about what America is turning into. What are those people going to do with their rage? They're not going to go back into the mountains. They're going to do something, okay? The question is what? And then how will the rest of America respond? I think this is a very fascinating juxtaposition that we cannot ignore at all. I certainly don't intend to. So, back to my original question of, do we belong in politics? I say probably at a time like this, more so than ever. I don't think anyone should sit down and say, I am not going to bother. There are some heated positions that are coming to the forefront well past November 8th. I think there are going to be some struggles that we can't ignore that are going to happen on the local level. And again, I can't wait to tell you some of the things I've learned about politics in my immediate area. And I think that's something else we have to pay attention to. What's going on in your immediate area, in your immediate neighborhood? What does it mean when you see lots and lots of development, for instance, or you see, major shifts in the neighborhoods and people changing? What's going on behind that? Because those decisions are made years beforehand. People target areas and then go in and make changes right under your feet. Again, I digress, so I'm not going to get into that now, but I will. I'll come back to that. So this is why I keep asking for my political respondents, my persons from across the country, to line themselves up. I take personal responsibility for not being able to get to you, our guests, because I think you're going to be interested to hear what they have to say. I thought I'd have somebody lined up by today, at least one, but that didn't work out. Again, it's Labor Day weekend, so let's give people a break. They're getting ready to get their kids back to school, perhaps. I'm getting ready to go back to school. Wah. Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, do you belong in politics, and what role can you play in politics? That's a question that I'm really interested in figuring out, and maybe some of what's happening here on this channel is part of it. But I really want to get a little bit deeper without getting lost in it. I want to get a little bit deeper into it, so I'm kind of excited. So until then, 65 days and counting. See you soon. Boom.